All right, here we go.
Welcome to the Clear to Send podcast, a podcast about wireless engineering, where we educate you on Wi-Fi technology, talk about design tips, troubleshooting, interviews, and the tools. Here are your hosts, Roel and François.
All right, welcome. Special episode with WLA. It's great to be here for a good cause, and we would greatly appreciate it if you haven't already donated. Go ahead and donate. I will be donating at the end of this recording, and I think we're almost there. Or have we already met the goal? I don't know.
I think we met the goal already.
Oh, nice. So let's keep going.
Yeah. I love your hat, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. So I told my kids I was going to be recording a live stream, and my daughter had this upstairs, and they were like, "You should put that on for the live stream." And I said, "All right." And so this is Hey Hey from Moana, the movie. Pretty good movie. I like it. Lots of music. But yeah.
Are you going to be, I like the songs. Are you going to be singing?
No singing today. We might lose donations because of that.
if we make it to 3,000, I think you should sing.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Come on, guys. Donate.
Way to put me on the spot there, François.
We'll do a little Disney karaoke.
Disney karaoke. Well, what are we going to talk about, François? Because
So today we wanted to talk about a little bit of the behind the scene of the Kirsten podcast. We've been recording a couple of nice episodes lately, so we wanted to share some of the things with you guys related to those episodes, and then we also wanted to and I forgot totally what I want. Oh yes, we also wanted to offer you guys the opportunity to ask us anything, right? So we wanted to do a little Q&A on the behind the scene of the podcast. We get some questions sometimes on what type of equipment do we use and all of these type of questions. So it's your chance to ask the questions. You can just ask the question in the chat, and we'll try to monitor and ask you questions. So we'll do that at the end, right after we just talk about what happened to the podcast in the past couple of weeks, and I guess how the whole COVID situation affected us, right?
Yeah.
For us, for me personally, I don't know about you, Roa, but it freed up a whole bunch of time that I could spend on the podcast. So we actually, I think up to this point, I think we have like a few episodes already recorded, ready to go. So we're in a nice spot. Usually we're just recording, the week off.
The week of, the day before it goes live, last minute recordings, but it works out. But now we've got some in the hopper at this point where we're about, I don't know, a month's worth of recordings. And like you said, because usually when we record, you are somewhere, I don't know, all over the world. You're a jet setter, so you're usually somewhere doing a training, for example, or doing some work. And for me, I felt like I thought I was going to get a lot more time back because of the COVID situation. But in the very beginning, I'd say the first couple weeks, I was incredibly busy with work because since everyone's working from home on my campus, there's actually a lot of faculty and staff that live near the campus in which we provide internet connectivity. So I had a project that ramped up real quick. We were already planning to do this project, but then it escalated because everyone was working from home.
Yeah, so I guess it gave us a little bit more time to organize everything, and especially if you want to do interviews and you have to organize it with different people, sometimes it takes a couple of email exchanges. Sometimes they're asking us to go on a conference call to plan the recording, right?
Yeah.
So
and
we don't have
usually
that
we're too busy
often
for that. Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes they do, right? So we do a call before the actual recording. So anyway, it allowed us to do that, even do more research in some of the topic we wanted to talk about. So that was kind of nice. well, today is Monday, so Friday we recorded with the Wi-Fi Alliance, which was a big deal for us. We recorded with the senior VP of marketing, and we'll talk a little bit about that because we wanted to go and talk a little bit of the behind the scenes. But those episodes are important for us. We don't get to talk to the Wi-Fi Alliance every day, so we're quite excited about that recording. On Saturday, we recorded a heavy technical episode on antenna and how antenna works with the RF engineer from the UK. So that was another,
and
I think that was the longest.
Yeah, that was our longest recording ever. And I think we thought about splitting it up into 2 episodes, but I think we ended up just deciding it's one episode. That way you go to one location to hear that episode. But I thought it was really insightful, especially since I don't, I don't design antennas. I don't open them up like you did this morning. That was really interesting what you shared, which relates to what we recorded.
Yeah. So I think, as Wi-Fi guys, we kind of take the antenna for granted. We just, plug it to the AP and then it works.
We trust it.
We trust it, right? But we don't really know, for most of us, we don't really know the physics behind it. And that's not something you learn in details when you go through the certifications. But the discussion we had on Saturday was very interesting because we talked about how the energy gets to the antenna, what happens when the energy gets to the antenna, how much do we lose, why do we lose some energy, and then how does the energy comes out of the antenna, and then how does that work, which magnetic, which fields is involved, the electromagnetic field and all of that. So it was a deep physics discussion, but it's nice for us to understand, sometimes the basics on how everything works. And then to tie it back to, what we do on a daily basis, we also talked about, how does the antenna affect the Wi-Fi design at the end of the day. So we're not going to talk too much about that. So you can listen to the episode.
You can listen to the long episode that we recorded, but it's good. And somebody, Matthew, asked, which antenna did you open up and share on Twitter?
So you know what? I can actually share my screen and show you because this is Zoom.
And then we'll get to your question, Alan, about why we do CTS, what motivates us to invest in top-notch equipment, time spent recording. I guess we can go a little bit behind the scenes on that too.
Yeah. Okay, so let me see, because I know Germond asked me the same question earlier this morning, and I'm trying to retrieve because I just sent the spec sheet. So I have it right here, and I'm just going to share my screen. And you tell me if you can see it.
Not yet, but...
Not yet. It's because I'm not sharing it yet. We're live, right? All right, so let me see if I can do this. Can you see what I see?
Yeah, I can see a blank screen so far.
A blank screen, right?
Well, yeah. You're showing a web page or something.
Oh, it says that...
See, you broke it open. You broke the antenna open, and now you cannot go to the website.
Yeah, I broke the link. So you know what? What I'll do is, while you talk,
sure,
I'll go and retrieve the information.
I'll answer Alan's question then. So Alan asked, why do we do CTS, ClearSend, and what motivates us both to invest in top-notch equipment, time spent recording, researching, and buying rooster hats? Well, the whole point in starting CTS was because in 2015, I initially I had listened to all the available wireless podcasts, which was Blake Cronies and also Keith Parsons. And at the time, Keith wasn't doing it as actively as he is now, but I had listened to all of their episodes, and I wanted to learn more about Wi-Fi. So in order to learn more, I pushed myself to actually talk about it on a podcast. And so that's how Clear to Send got started. So it's mainly around learning and teaching people about how Wi-Fi works. And then later on, François joined me, and I don't even remember how it came to be, François. I think you and I were chatting quite a bit over Twitter, and then I just asked if you wanted to join, and you said yes.
Yeah. So what happened is when you started the podcast, at one point we're chatting, and then I think I came to you, and then I told you, if you want, I can help you prepare some of the content. And then you asked me, why don't you just join me? Right.
Yeah.
So I was
because
like,
it's
sure.
boring
And
to
then,
talk by yourself. Honestly, when I was recording those early episodes, I literally like sat in front of a wall, and my laptop's there, and I would just talk to myself. It's really boring.
yeah. And I know it's not easy. When I attended university, I was part of the radio club. We had different clubs, I guess. And then so we set up, one of my friend at the time set up the radio, like a web radio, right? Not the FM radio or anything like that, but a web radio for the school. And I was in charge of the sport show. So me and another friend of mine, we were taking care of the sports show. So every week we would do a show talking about sports, like the news, what happened in whatever we wanted to talk about. And then sometimes we would do some live. So we would just bring a TV in the studio, and then put the soccer game on, and then talk on top of the game, right? And people would come on the chat, and then we'll just have a good time drinking beer, and then commenting the game. And I really like the experience. I really like the radio type of experience, right? So I think that's also motivated me to to join you and do the podcast. And then after that, it's just
We just kept recording, and so we both do the same amount of work. We both go and do research. We both do show notes. We both go and interview people. Sometimes if one of us isn't able to be there, like for example, if I'm busy with work, François jumps in and does a recording with him and a guest, or if he's busy, I'll do a recording with the guest. And then when it comes to equipment, I started off with like a really basic microphone. You don't have to spend a lot of money to start a podcast. You just need, what I like to tell people is you need a good environment where you have less echo and reverb. And then you could just use any mic, really. And then technically what you see right here is my garage. It's my corner of the garage, which means I have a lot of reverb in here, which made me purchase into higher end equipment, because this microphone tends to be very focused like an antenna, so it doesn't pick up a lot of sound everywhere. But everywhere else on all three other corners of the garage, it's a mess.
Yeah, but I think what you say is a good point. You don't need, like, especially today, you don't need crazy equipment to start a podcast. And I mean, we've seen it. Did you see how many podcasts we have now? Like today we had like 10 podcasts, and everyone is starting. I'm sure they're not starting with the top of the notch equipment, right?
Yeah, you don't have to. I would say if they can at least hear you and there's not as many distractions, then the content, whatever you talk about, will be what people are there to listen to.
Yeah. And then even to produce the episode, so you can use free software, Audacity. That's what we use for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's free. You can just use it to edit the episode if you want to add an intro, outro, maybe clean up the voice a little bit. And that's about it. Nowadays, we use Audition, and Roel developed kind of like a template, a workflow. So we always do the same thing, right? And we have our presets, our templates. So It's saving us a whole bunch of time now when we produce the audio.
Yeah, we just don't like spending a lot of time on any kind of editing. So even as I record this video, we try to make it simple, but using tools that don't allow us to pay attention. Like we don't have to tend to it so much in order for it to work. I should be able to just get whatever I need and then be able to publish it. And so we try not to focus so much on any kind of editing. We try to be more efficient with it because we want to focus more on content versus the actual process of putting it together.
Okay, so I found the antenna.
All right,
interested?
Let's do it.
All right, let me share again. Let's try.
Take this rooster hat off because I'm starting to sweat.
Okay, so sorry. let me do something else right before this.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
And Heston says in the comments that in the chat that he often uses sound audio analogies because it is very similar to how Wi-Fi works. And that's a good point to use those analogies to drive a point because people will use their ears as antennas, for example.
Do you see this picture?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an
So that's a
impressive
picture I took. Yeah. So it's an antenna, and I have the spec sheet here, right? So it's a dual band antenna, 14 dBi directional antenna. I believe it's 30 degree beam width, but we'll open the.
It's very small
full
font,
spec.
Francois.
It's very small. So look at that. Boom, 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 boom.
There you go.
No, it's very big.
Yeah, when me and Francois work together, he'll share his screen and he uses the highest resolution possible.
Yeah, I know. I use a very small resolution. Actually, another behind the scene, when I record the videos for YouTube and I have to record my screen, I just change it up to something very big. So you can actually see what I'm saying on the screen. Anyway, so this one is the dual band 14 dBi directional antenna. If you look at it here, it has a 35 degree beam width, horizontal beam width. And if you open the spec sheet, and this is what failed last time. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's still
I'll
trying.
come back here. But pretty much what I did is they have a whole bunch of screws at the bottom, and you can take off the cover, and it reveals the antenna, and you can see the different elements.
Yeah, that's really neat.
So I don't know, I don't know enough about antenna design, so I don't really know which part is what. But you see the gray board over here. This is where the connector is connected, on the other side of the plate. And that's pretty much about it. That's all I can tell you, I guess. But it's super cool to see that you have some, some elements here, right? So I don't think it's like a circuit printed antenna in this case.
Yeah. Who makes this antenna again?
It's Vantev or TerraWave.
Yeah, so we can probably talk to Dennis, who is one of the designers there. He would be able to explain exactly how that works. It's really interesting if you guys have ever met Dennis. I can't remember his last name, Burrell, I think. If you ever get to meet Dennis, he's an incredibly smart guy when it comes to antennas.
Look at that COVID-19 update, right? So if you didn't know, you can go and donate some money. Let me put the. You see what a transition.
Nice transition there.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is a spec sheet. Hopefully, I answered the question. And I have other pictures actually, because this morning I took more pictures, but I'm keeping them for the show notes of the episode.
Yeah, because I see on the bottom it says maximum VSWR, and we actually talk about that in the episode we just recorded, and how we would use that value. And so that's important, especially if you're dealing with external antennas that you are deploying.
Yeah, so I'm not able to show you the spec sheet, so you're not going to see the pattern. But I think it's 35 by 35. It's a pretty narrow. It has a pretty narrow beam width. So you could. I think this is used for like high density environment if you want to focus your signal. Like 14 dBi is pretty high.
Okay.
You want to talk about Wi-Fi LANs?
Yeah, let's talk about Wi-Fi Alliance. I think it's an interesting topic. I saw some chatter on Twitter about Wi-Fi Alliance as well, unrelating to what we were talking about, but just in general, people's views of Wi-Fi Alliance. And I think it's something we should discuss and try to understand engineers and also the role Wi-Fi Alliance plays with engineers and also with the general public.
Yeah, and before recording, we asked on the Slack channel, what do you guys want to ask the Wi-Fi Alliance? And it wasn't surprising. People wanted to know if they're working on any sort of certification or testing for, roaming or client behaviors to make sure that we have clients that have a more standardized behavior over the Wi-Fi. So it's a little easier for us to design and configure the network.
Yeah, and we did ask them this question on the
multiple
show.
times.
And they gave us an answer.
Yeah, they actually gave us an answer. So they talked about a certification program that's called Wi-Fi Certified Vantage. And I'm going to share my screen again because I actually have some of the information here. And if you look at their documentation, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Wow. So if you go to the Wi-Fi Alliance website and you search for Wi-Fi Vantage, you're gonna end up on this page. And here it's showing you a couple of things, and it's telling you that part of Wi-Fi Vantage you have AC, Passpoint, Agile, Multiband, and Optimized connectivity. So it's kind of like they grouped a couple of their certification program into a higher level certification program that they call Vantage, and they have the release 1 for now. And then if you look at their marketing document, you can see that here the goal of this certification is really to make sure that the client devices have a better experience over as they call it, the managed Wi-Fi. So from what I understand here, managed network is like the enterprise network. It's not like the home network.
Right.
But here, if you just read this sentence, it says Wi-Fi Certified Vantage is a certification program from Wi-Fi Alliance that makes it easy to select devices that gives an enhanced Wi-Fi experience in managed network, including airport, stadium, blah, 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 offices, right? And if I go down here, you can see, if you want to understand, what features is included in that certification program. Well, they give you a little bit more details here, right? So it has to be AC, I would guess at least, right? It has to support Passpoint, right? Which is a whole other game here. Maybe we can talk about Passpoint as well. The one I wanted to focus on is this one, right? The Agile Multiband. And we'll show you guys a couple more things about Agile Multiband, but I think that's the most interesting one here. And then you have optimized connectivity, enhanced network connectivity when moving between Wi-Fi networks, right? So here, when you see this, it looks very good, right?
Looks good on the surface.
It looks very good, and if you look into the Agile Multiband, and I have the tab open here.
Yeah, and that's another certification rolled into Vantage.
Exactly. And here, when you look at this, you get a little bit more technical details, right? So for us Wi-Fi guys, we start to understand what they're talking about here, right? They're talking about 11K, 11V, 11U, which is the Passpoint, 11R for fast roaming. And the good thing about Agile Multiband is you can actually download the specs. And that's something that's publicly available. So if you click on Wi-Fi Agile Multiband spec, you can give out your information, and you can actually download the document, right? And I actually have the document. So let me stop sharing this.
You're so prepared for this.
Yeah, I know.
And Alan asked, did we ask Wi-Fi Alliance why they don't share or publish their testing processes on how they certify vendors' products? I don't think we asked about that, but I do know their testing location is near me. It's in Santa Clara. So hopefully they might be open to us talking about that testing process. And I'm not sure. I think you got to pay, right? It's an alliance, so there's a lot of different companies that are involved. I'm not sure if it's open to, like, if they would allow us to go in without even being members, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I think you have access to more documents if you're a member of the Wi-Fi Alliance, but becoming a member of the Wi-Fi Alliance is not cheap. Maybe the WLA can become a member of the Wi-Fi Alliance.
Yeah, I would say so. You need to just come up with enough money to participate. But yeah, they did talk about, we talk about this in the episode where we interviewed Wi-Fi Alliance, and it's basically a bunch of companies getting together, and I believe it's just a lot of people who argue about what's going to be included. That's just my thought. We've all been in meetings, right? And when you have when you have big meetings, and we're talking like hundreds of organizations in these meetings, and they're all very smart, I'm sure it's going to be very difficult to come to a agreement of what's required, what's optional, what are you going to leave out, those types of things. But yeah, let's go back to this agile multiband.
No, going back to what you were saying, the members, he did say that one member each member gets one vote. So if we were to come up, and become a member, let's say, a group of us becomes a member, we can actually attend those technical meetings and discussions and get a vote to whatever they're voting on.
Okay.
All right. So can you see my screen?
Yep, I can see it.
All right. So once you gave your email address and your name and all of that, you'll receive this document. And so it's a Wi-Fi agile multiband specifications. And so here, if you take a look at this one, you get a little bit more technical detail, right? And you get in this section, you get the requirements. And here you can see the required 802.11 capabilities. So here, what I like about this document is that it tells you straight, it tells you exactly which feature of the standards needs to be supported by the devices, both the AP and the client devices, in order to get this multiband certification, right? So if I click on here, you'll see that we'll start to get a whole bunch of technical information, neighbor reports with BSS, transition candidate preference, sub-element. And then here it tells you, the Wi-Fi agile multiband AP shall support, boom. And then it tells you here the Wi-Fi agile multiband station, or the multimode station shall support, and it tells you, right? Yeah. So here, so here we have a couple of interesting things, neighbor reports element, and then so it shows you that some of the things that are nice for the client devices or help the client devices to take, let's say, better roaming decisions are part of this certifications. There's not everything. There's not like everything that comes with 11K, but I think they chose a couple of features from 11K or from 11R to include into that certification. Yeah. If you look at FT, you have FT over the air.
And I think even as you look through this document, when we talk about roaming, it's still a challenge, right? Because nowhere in here does it say at what RSSI value should you start, say, looking for a new access point. At least I didn't see it off the bat. But the other thing too is like RSSI values aren't really standardized.
Yeah, I agree. It's gonna be very difficult to have a standard on that. And on top of that, I mean, each manufacturer has different needs, right, and different interests. If you design a device that never roams, you don't want the device to roam, right? So you're going to make sure that it never roams. But if you have a device that's highly mobile, then you're going to design it so it roams well. And on top of that, if you have a device that uses like real-time, application like voice, you're going to make sure that there's no delay, like big delay in roaming. So each manufacturer will have different interests, and it's going to be hard to have everyone agree on the same things.
Right. So I don't. So when we talk about roaming, then a lot of discussions online, and a lot of fingers pointed at Wi-Fi Alliance. I don't necessarily think it's their fault for not testing it. I think it might be that the companies do not want it tested, because that could be their secret sauce into being better than the competitor across the table, who also doesn't want it tested because they don't want to give up that leverage, right? Because then now what's to say that I should pick, the iPhone over a Samsung device if they're the same, right? It just comes down to personal preference. But I know it's now more of an advantage for that company to just do what they do, using the best engineers that they have in order to develop that algorithm that works better than their competitor.
Yeah, and they probably consider it being intellectual property, right? So something that they want to own and they want to keep secret. So anyway, something I wanted to show you guys as well is the finder, the Wi-Fi finder on the Wi-Fi Alliance website. I kind of like this tool. So if I go back on the Wi-Fi Alliance website, and I'm going to share my screen again.
And we talked about this too, because we want to create an episode where we actually look at some of the devices we have to see if they are part of this certification.
Yeah, so I'm going to go to the Wi-Fi Alliance Finder. I think that's the name of the tool. And this tool allows you to, search product finder. That's how they call it. And you can search, you can filter per certifications, right? So what I wanted to show you guys is, how many devices do we have today that support that Vente certification? So I'm going to click on phone to start with. My internet is very slow. All right, so here, this is what we have. We have all the phones certified by the Wi-Fi Alliance, and for each of them, we can look at their certification. We can look which certification program they have from the Wi-Fi Alliance. And if you go down here under the feature capabilities, you see the Wi-Fi Advantage Release 1. Is that big enough for a while to see?
I can see it clearly. I don't know if other people can.
So here, when I came here and I looked at it, you can already see that you only have 45 devices, right? 45 devices, and if I uncheck it, right, at the top here, you'll see the number of phones we have. We have 9,679 phones, and we only have 45 that are Vantage, that supports Vantage, right? And then if you look at it, you only have two brands. You have Fujitsu and you have LG.
LG, yeah.
Right. And so, I mean, I did some research, but you can search for the model LG something here. You can just Google this.
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah.
I didn't even know Fujitsu made phones.
Yeah, I didn't know either. So maybe it's, sometimes it's for certain countries and they only sell it in certain countries. But anyway, so, this phone doesn't even have a picture when I go here. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So this is the phone, right? And we have a couple of others. Here, I have the zoom bar was getting on the way. So, and then, so here, this is the only devices we have, right? And if I click on one of the certifications icon here, certificate icon, it will tell me that it's, it downloaded it here, right here. You tell me if it's too small. It's very gray for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's loading.
Okay. So let me zoom in a little bit. So here, if you go down, and this device, dates from 2018, so 2 years ago. And then here you're going to have Vantage, which is right here, release 1.
Yeah.
Right. So looking at that, I was like, a little bit disappointed, right? Out of almost 10,000 devices, we only have 45 that support that certification. So now I uncheck the phones, right? And so here, what we'll see much more results.
Maybe the actual adapter.
No, so here, like when you uncheck it, you have over 400 devices, but now you just realizes all the APs.
Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't help us much, right? APs, we know APs already support those type of features. The issue is usually the client devices. Anyway,
right.
So if I check the phones again, I wanted to show you one last thing. I wanted to show you the Agile multiband. So you can also filter with the Agile multiband if you go to show advanced filter and you go to, and this is where I'm not too sure anymore. Let's see. No, it's not this one. Yeah, so in one of these things, additional capabilities, I bet you it's here. No. Anyway.
I thought it would be under optimization or something.
Yeah, probably. Huh? Where is it?
Up more, right under
Yeah,
security.
optimization. Exactly, that's where it is. Under optimization, you have Wi-Fi agile multiband, and here we have 155, right?
Okay,
So it's better. And so you see, we have a little bit more that supports.
Yeah, so they might support the agile multiband, but maybe not the other requirements for the Vantage certification.
But I think agile multiband is the most important for us in the enterprise space. Here you can see we have different brand LG, Oppo, OnePlus, Xiaomi devices.
Okay.
155. I don't know if I have everything here, but yeah, anyway. No. So that was kind of like, us looking at the things.
I guess a question that would come up is, why don't we see other vendors in this? And I don't know, a couple of things that come to my mind is they don't want to pay for the test. That could be it, right? Maybe that's not something that they think users will know about, right? Maybe the customers of, say, of one of these devices, they don't care that it is Wi-Fi Vantage certified. That could be it. I don't know. It's
I'm not too sure why not. One thing that's interesting to note is that the Wi-Fi multiband certification is mandatory for the Wi-Fi 6 certification program, right? So any devices that are Wi-Fi 6 certified, so just like this Samsung, I don't know exactly which model this one is, but I think it's S10, right? It's Wi-Fi 6 certified, and as you can see, it's also agile multiband, and it's also enhanced open. I haven't looked at enhanced open yet.
Yeah. So we should do that. With the certification, then we know that it is at least capable of roaming more efficiently, but that's yet to be. There's more parameters that have to go into testing it. This just tests that it has that functionality with the requirements for agile multiband. And it's not to say that a device that's not listed here, it doesn't support it. It could, they're just not certified in this.
Yeah, so hopefully we get to maybe do other episodes with the Wi-Fi Alliance. Maybe we can go deeper into how they test their equipment. Maybe we can ask those questions if they're willing to share that information with us.
Yeah, definitely go right into agile multiband and ask them direct questions on how that testing goes, and is it just seeing this if the capabilities are there, or are they actually trying to do the roaming and making sure it works?
Yeah. And Ferne is like, but isn't it that exactly what the Wi-Fi Alliance is supposed to be doing, testing interoperability and certifying devices?
Sure, but maybe for the ones that pay.
Yeah. Anyway,
you got to pay to have the testing. I'm pretty sure. Like, if I just made a device and said, "Hey, test this," I don't think they're gonna do it.
Try tonight.
And you got to be a member. Right, so all these guys are members of the Wi-Fi Alliance, so they can bring their devices to test, right? I'm not sure. We should have gone into, with the Wi-Fi Alliance, how that actually works. Do you test any device that somebody brings to you, or do they have to be a member? Is there a certain level of membership that lets you certify X number of devices a year? I don't know.
But I guess what we can do on our end is if we work on a project with a customer, we could, ask the customer to make sure that they use devices that are certified. Let's say, that has like agile multiband, for instance. I think that could help, having more devices supporting those certifications. But now that it's a prerequisite for Wi-Fi 6, I'm expecting to see it more often. They also said that, Wi-Fi 6 will have higher security levels, so WPA3. So, those, at the end of the day, it's helping us. I think it's going to get better, hopefully. We're still going to have to support, very old devices for some of us.
We still have that long transition to get there. But it does allow us to work more with these devices as we make this transition. We start to understand how they work, and then we could try to push companies to, I don't know how much leverage we have as a community to start making some of these companies support better roaming capabilities, or even publish some of the documentation that they have on how this works. It's an uphill battle for sure. But I guess as paying customers, you should be able to ask these questions and you should be able to get answers, because somebody knows, or maybe somebody doesn't know. And that's the glaring issue, is maybe we shouldn't go with this device because they don't know how it works.
Maybe we should just let AI fix all of our issues.
build it into all the devices. Or exactly. Who cares about the devices? Make AI fix it from the infrastructure side.
I don't understand why you're laughing, Roland. It's a very serious comment. Anyway, so that was some of the behind the scene of our recording with the Wi-Fi Alliance. It's I think it's about 36 minutes long, and we did talk about Wi-Fi 6E, but I'm not going to talk about it today. We have to keep some of the meat.
Yeah, you guys wouldn't listen to any of our episodes. But if you haven't done so already, donate to this.
Yeah. Okay. COVID-19. Wait. I have to put the little message.
That's my cue to you, François, to do the ticker.
Okay. Here you go. It's starting to look like the news, Yeah. Breaking news.
We're doing the Wi-Fi news now.
Exactly.
But do you guys have any questions you want to talk about with us? We're open to suggestions, some Q&A. I guess we do. What else do we have on our agenda for this hour? We're about 40 minutes in. I know we have a Q&A that some people have sent to us that they want us to address.
And then we had a question from a listener. We can answer as well. But we have a question in the chat. Manon is asking me, actually. She said, I have a question for François. What do you think it will take ISET to move on the spectrum thing? So ISET is just the equivalent of the FCC, but for Canada. And they usually wait and see what's going on in the US and then apply or try to apply whatever they do in the US and Canada. So to give you an idea, in Canada, we still don't have access to 120, 124, 128 when the FCC released that for unlicensed use a few years ago. So they still try to catch back on that. And then after that, maybe we'll have 6 gig, I don't know. But I've actually asked them, the status on that. So they acknowledge the fact that it's going to happen in the US and they're going to start working on the matter. But those things takes a long time. Right. So I'm not expecting it to move in the next 5 years. Maybe it will be faster. They'll ask companies in Canada, Canadian companies, to give their 2 cents and then tell them if we really need it in Canada. The answer is yes. And then based on that, they'll just work on and see if they're able to release it for a license use in Canada. So it's just the beginning, I think, of the process for them.
Good question.
So do you want to talk about the? We got another question.
Yeah. So Dave Thomas, can you guys give a little comparison between the Cisco Meraki and ME, which is Mobility Express, Aruba IAP, and AeroHive cloud model? It would be good to know some of their differences. Have you guys had a chance to deploy them? That could be a whole other hour in itself. I have used Cisco Meraki. I have used Mobility Express, Aruba IAP, and AeroHive. And to me, having dealt with the clients I had with all of those, I would say it comes down to your personal preference and requirements of that organization, because I have seen all of those work successfully, right? So some of them give you more functionality than others. So for example, Cisco Meraki, I feel, is meant to be very easy to use, very easy to deploy. But once you start creating some complex designs and complex configurations, and it becomes difficult to do that because you don't have some of those advanced knobs that you would want from, for example, Mobility Express. Aruba IAP is similar with Meraki, but I feel that there's a lot more advanced settings you could touch upon there. And Aerohive I thought was pretty good. I've never had a problem with Aerohive, and I've had it work successfully, but still it just comes down to what your requirements are and what features you need and what kind of support you'll get from these guys. How about you, François?
Yes. So if you look at these solutions, Cisco, Meraki, Aerohive, these are truly cloud solutions, right? Mobility Express, Aruba Instant AP, they're not necessarily cloud solutions. No. I mean, Aruba AP, you could use them with Central, Aruba Central, to have them, managed from the cloud. One thing I really like about Aruba IAP is that you can convert them into a campus AP, what they call a campus AP. So pretty much an AP that you would connect to a controller.
Yeah.
So it gives you, it's the same hardware, it's just like a software conversion. So you can make your network evolve. So if you only install 10 AP to start with, you can use the instant AP. And so one of the AP will become the controller. And then if you need to install, 100 more APs down the road, because your company is growing, then you can just reuse those APs, convert them, and then install a controller.
Yeah, I would say IAP is more similar to Mobility Express, and the advantage that they have is they've got the this cloud platform you could use to manage the local controller. So with IAP, you do have a local controller that talks to all the other APs. You're just using this cloud platform, kind of similar to like how Unify does it. You could log into Unify dashboard, but then have like a web RTC back to your network. And so it's similar to that. I'm not sure. It's been a while since I looked at Aruba, but I don't know if they will have like a true cloud model similar to like Cisco Meraki or Mist.
We're starting to see a lot of cloud solutions, and I really like the cloud solutions because it makes it easier to deploy, right? For most of the cases, it makes it easier to deploy. And then you can, most of the time they have APIs and stuff to interact with them, which can make your job easier. Especially Meraki, they have a whole bunch of APIs you can use with Meraki. Aerohive, I'm not too sure, but I know Ruckus has some APIs as well. Aruba has some APIs as well with Central, I believe. So, yeah. And Mist, we didn't talk about Mist, but Mist is also a very good cloud solution. You can use APIs.
All of those solutions would work. It just it depends on what your requirements are and what you need out of these different vendors. And so I would definitely look at support wise, what would happen if you have a question or some sort of failure and you need to reach out to them for support. So that I would go around, start asking people who use these vendors, what do they get with support, right? And how is the response? How good are they? That kind of thing.
So Troy is saying that Aerohive and Extreme, I guess now, does have RESTful APIs. And James is telling us that it's not even a software conversion now from IAP to campus, I believe. That's what he was referring to.
Yeah.
So here you go. Thank you guys for adding to what we're saying here.
If you guys have more questions, go ahead and put it into the chat. We'll try to answer it with the remaining time that we have here on this live stream. But we do have a Q&A, right? François, I think we have one.
Yeah, we do have one question. I just wanted to play with my live, icon and make it blink. That's why I was silent. It's super important.
You can tell François loves this live streaming stuff.
Yeah, I mean, for the guys in Europe, it's pretty late right now. So I don't even know if they're still listening to us. But we have to be entertaining for them, right? Even though we're talking about very serious stuff, right? Wi-Fi is very serious.
Well, Alan's there, Alan Blake. But I think you have to be there, right?
Yeah, Alan and Peter. They have to be there.
All right. So Mike Johnson says, what's the next certification after CWNA in your opinion? That's an easy one. That's going to have to be CWAP.
Really? You want to battle?
Let's do it. The next best certification after CWNA is going to be the one you're most comfortable with. So
It's
I don't
yeah.
think I did AP first, or did I? I don't remember, but my I was more stronger with design, so that would have been an easy one for me to go after and just knock it out. So like Alan says, CWDP, like that's a good one to knock out. CWAP, I think is a really great exam because the content is like, it's kind of like the heart of Wi-Fi, right? Really knowing how Wi-Fi works. And Peter McKenzie's here, so he obviously
he
says
says
CWAP. I would be very surprised if he did not say that.
Yeah. So I think CWAP is great. I didn't take CWAP right after CWNA. I did CWNA, CWDP, CWSP, and then I finished with CWAP. And the answer I usually give to that question is just do whichever one you have the most interest in.
Yeah.
Because that's the one you're going to be motivated to study, and that's
whatever
where you're going to
mood you're into taking those exams.
you're going to be more curious about it.
There's no right or wrong way to of a sequence of exams. I have known people who have not had a CWNA, but they did take like a CWDP. So just take whatever you feel comfortable with, but you just need to get all of them in order to then apply for CWNE. I like to say CWAP because that gives you down into the details of wireless, which makes it easier for you to understand when you go through DP and SP as well. But yeah, whatever works for you.
I think the best is just to do them and then go all the way up to CWNE, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so do you want to answer the question before we finish?
Yeah, let's do it, because I think this will take up all the time.
So we received a question. I can't remember from who. Do you have the name?
Oh no, I don't remember the name.
Okay,
I
it's
guess
okay.
I could try to think of it.
It will stay mysterious. So the question was, can you guys bring up some good smashing arguments a small Wi-Fi engineer like me use when I try to convince the CTO or the technical manager that static channel width settings and the use of RF profiles and assign APs into AP groups or tags based on the wireless design is a much better solution in regards to using auto RF using 80 megahertz wide channel width. So I think what he's asking is, I think what I understand from it is that his boss want him to use, the default settings in RM in terms of channel width, which might get you to use 80 megahertz wide channels. And on his side, he wants to have more control over it. He wants to use RF profiles and use, I'm guessing, narrower channels.
Yeah. So we have to answer this in about 5 minutes.
Yeah. And we need a smashing argument.
We need a smashing argument. All right. The smashing argument is against auto config. How much do you trust your infrastructure to automatically configure Wi-Fi when it's only coming from the AP's perspective, right? So you got clients, but the AP, I'm assuming it's Cisco since he mentions RRM, but RRM, you have to, at least APs have to hear about it from each other and send NDP messages. So it could just look at a channel and go, all right, this channel looks good. I'm going to do channel 149. Let's do an 80 megahertz channel. And that could be occupied with other Wi-Fi networks, right? And those changes might not kick in depending on the interval in which it starts. I forgot what it's called, the RRM interval that kicks in every hour or 600 seconds.
600 seconds by default, yeah. I think like if you want to make your point, what you could do is you could look at the logs, right? And look at the RM logs and look at how often RM is making changes on your channel width or on your transmit power or on your channel itself, right? And then it's going to be, it might be a lot of changes, right? Hopefully that's what you want. But I've seen a lot of changes in RM log if you start to look at it. Roel, I believe you have a blog where you have some comments that we can use to look at all of that, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, you could look at it on the controller, but yes, there would be a lot of changes if you looked at the logs, especially if you got it set to the default timer.
Yeah. And then, so you take that and then you show that to your boss and you're like, here, look at all the changes that we have in our infrastructure. And then you can even showcase it to your boss. You're like, okay, you see, you connected to this AP. Let me simulate a change of channel, and then you change the channel on him, and then he lose the Wi-Fi for a bit, right? And then you can make your point. Say, you see that this is what happened every time. The system is making a change for us because we have it to auto and we have it to just a default value. I think we could, if we just spend some time to optimize that, you could leave it to auto, but then change the channel width that you give RM.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The dynamic, you can do, because it's probably set to dynamic channel selection or channel with the DBA is what it's called, dynamic bandwidth allocation. You could change that and just set it to 40, for example. But you could also go back and see what the user experience is like. If you have a lot of users complaining about connectivity, Wi-Fi connectivity and slowness, or apps are buggy, then you got to go and make some changes.
And then what you could do is an RF profile. You could select one floor or one building if you have multiple buildings, and then configure it the way you want it. With if you want 20 megahertz wide channels, you can configure it the way you want it, and then test it for a while, and then come back with the data to your boss and be like, this is the building where we let the controller choose for us. This is our building, and these are the results. And if you can come up with like data that PKI, right, that matters to them, and if you can use their vocab, maybe they'll be like, oh yeah,
exactly. Right. You got to use manager terms like productivity, productivity loss.
Yeah, we had 50
work stoppage
support calls, right? And this translated in savings of X amount of dollars. But you get the point. Anyway, are we talking too much? I can ERI coming up.
No, you're not. A good one that we like to hear is return on investment.
There you go.
Return
ROI.
on investment. So they can buy you more APs.
That's right.
Well, thanks for having us.
You have to become a salesman just to get the funding that you need.
Everyone is a salesman. Every engineer is a salesman.
Everyone is.
In a way. I can see Peter is still alive.
I'm still alive. I'm only just awake, but I'm still awake. It's got to be AP next, guys. I think that's always the answer. I don't know what Alan's doing. He's
creeping around in the dark by the looks of it.
He's creeping on
to the Zoom. So I've in a different room where there's not much light. So because
are you in the bathroom?
I thought it was a Zoom bomb for a second.
No, it's because my office is below my bedroom, and it's just my voice booms. I'm really loud, apparently. So I'm in a different room, and the lighting's off. I need to turn it on, but hey ho. But great show, guys. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed that. And
thanks
sorry for bombarding you with questions. But the Wi-Fi Alliance stuff was really intriguing because it's something that we've worked with in the past with the WLA. So it's really good and interesting. So thank you very much for sharing that.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Sure.
Yeah, anytime.
Thank you, guys. That was awesome.